this is Professor Bauer. Welcome to Principles of Project Management, ICT 4100. This is week 2 and the week 2 roadmap video. I mentioned we were going to have just a short video each week, give you a sense of what we're going to be talking about, some highlights, and maybe some things to help guide your work during this week. We'll do a quick review of last week. I'm shooting this video on Monday, and I know some of you are finishing up deadlines that we extended a little bit because things were a little out of sorts and disjointed, and wanted to give you a little bit more time. So I know they're going to be tremendous, and they're going to be your best work. So looking forward to seeing those. But we'll look at week 2's activities. We'll preview the Thursday night class. I want to give you a sense of what we're going to be talking about on Thursday, so that if you want to read to that area, we'll have a discussion that will be even more meaningful. The parachute.com, the team project, we're going to talk about writing the project charter, which is your group assignment for this week. And then finally, we'll close with my observations on excellence, also called, is that the best you can do? All right, let's get started here. Last week was a busy week. It seemed we didn't get really started till Tuesday or Wednesday, and I appreciate everybody jumping in. Once we posted the discussions, they were engaging and informative. It was a wonderful opportunity to be able to meet everyone in the Zoom class. Rarely do we get to go and actually talk about ourselves. It's usually something we write and discuss, or we've just taken right from our resume. I felt like it was worth the time that we spent, and hopefully we'll be able to work together even better. So keep up the engagement, keep up the intensity. I'm sure as I look at the discussions, they were great. I'm looking forward to looking at some of the other work as well on the statement of work and the major assignment. So you had some mercy this week. Now, no more mercy, okay? No, I'm just kidding a little bit, but hopefully we'll get back on the schedule, and that'll be great. Week 2, we really jump into the processes under the PMI vision of project management. Processes, definitions, integrated tools, and the initiation of the project. We're going to look at 10 project management knowledge areas, 5 project management process groups, and how they interact and map to 49 processes as defined in the 6th edition of the PMBOK by the Project Management Institute. These are if you're prepared to take the PMP exam, these are the things you have to be able to commit on a blank piece of paper in a brain dump 10 seconds into the exam. If you don't know how to structure this scaffolding, you're going to be in trouble taking the exam. And so, not that you have to memorize them for this class, not that you have to memorize them even to be a good project manager, but even if you don't use the exact words, these are the things you do in a good project management effort. So we'll look at 3 tools used to manage expectations, and we'll look at project risk management. What are the things that you're most worried about? Think about it. A year ago, we were not worried at all about a global pandemic that would affect our supplies, our access, our employees, our factories, and just turn our world and our economy upside down. So I think everyone will have that now on their risk chart. So we'll talk about your homework in creating a requirements management plan for the group project. So there's reading, there's review of lecture materials. There are 2 discussions that you read and comment on. Let's keep going with the MS project step by step. You're now in chapters 4 and 5. You're downloading files, you're manipulating them, you're submitting that final version for me to review. So keep that in mind. On all the group projects, you're going to get feedback, and no different here with the team charter. I'm going to make comments. I'm going to say, more of this, less of this, not clear here, etc. Those are not just for you to say, yeah, okay. But what I really want you to do as a team, as you go through the term, is to make those edits. For the final submission, weeks 9 and 10, the final submission, I'm going to look at all the corrections that I made and see if you guys have followed up and made those corrections in putting it all together. So hopefully the last product is not just week 2, week 3, week 4 all glommed together and maybe clean up the font sizes or things like that, although those things are important. But you've really looked at this and you've created something that will be worth talking about in your portfolio as you answer the question, what did I get for my money in sending you to DU? Or you say, this is what I learned at DU as you interview for a new job or a better job or a promotion within your current organization. So those are the activities for the week. In terms of week 2 assignments, lots of reading. Make sure you jump on this. The PMBOK has you read from chapter 1, from chapter 4, from chapter 11 in terms of risk management. The Eric Verza MBA, Fast MBA book in project management has some really good stuff in chapters 6, 7, and 8. So make sure you take that out. There's lecture, presentation. The video on the 5 project management process groups. I'd like you to watch it. If you plan to take version 6 of the PMP exam, I call this group the PMP Strivers. In other words, you want to take the exam. Remember, the deadline is December 31st of this year. Make sure you understand that video. It is probably the most cogent explanation I've seen of those process groups. You've got discussions on knowledge areas and also on project risk. Step by step, you should be comfortable now walking through what I call this cookbook and walking through it. If you have any issues on that, we'll definitely take a look at that this coming Thursday night. And then the parachute.com project charter. So Thursday night, we'll talk about the 10 project knowledge areas, the 5 project management process groups, and how they hang in a scaffolding of 49 processes defined by the PMI. And we'll see how that structure all looks together. We'll walk through some of the step-by-step just in case someone hasn't figured it out. By the way, if you don't have Microsoft Project installed by now, and you can't open a project file from that you download and manipulate it and change it and submit it, things are grim. So get in touch with me. We'll work through IT, whatever the situation is, but you got to get that fixed right away. And then we'll talk about the team charter assignment for for parachute.com. All right, you'll submit modifying a template called project charter template .doc, a Word document, and you need to provide a rationale for the choices that you're asked in each of the boxes. And again, just simple author date reference from Turabian will suffice. Don't get too taken up by format. Get a consistent format based on Turabian and stick with it. I put a slide in here that says how much of the original template remains. And clearly you take all the generic stuff, and replace it, with your team name, the team members, the project name, all generic language about the project charter templates gets updated and removed. All the things that you fill out in the template reflect your knowledge, your understanding, and your discussion about the parachute.com project. Some of you were saying, well, how many work items? If we have a $5 million budget, what are we supposed to our costs supposed to be? And I responded to several people saying, well, approximate. We're not going to check your pricing at Costco for pencils or anything like that, but you shouldn't spend $3 million on the webmaster's salary or something like that. So look at a coherent schedule, partner input, discussions, inclusion of investors, all these kinds of things, and you write that charter out, okay? And so the concluding project charter table is really your extrapolation of all this information, and you leave nothing remaining from the original template that is no longer necessary. If something doesn't apply, just delete it. The statement of work is specific to this project, and so keep it that way. And then lastly, the next slide, remember the rubric is your friend. When you're done as a group, someone ought to look through the rubric and do a sanity check. Did we get this done? Did we get this done? Are we going to get the full 40 points for this? And as you continue, of course, the points get higher. And the rubric will spell out your success or sadly illustrate where you fell short. So team, make sure you take this into account, and you'll be in good shape in terms of the entire group project, and I think you'll be good to go. Finally, as we close, there's a story about a guy who worked for Henry Kissinger, the former Secretary of State for Richard Nixon in the late 60s and early 70s. He was writing a speech for Kissinger, and he wrote the speech, dropped it off. Kissinger called him the next day and said, his name is Winston Lord, and he said, is this the best you could do? And Lord said, well, I thought so, but hey, let me look at it again, and I'll send you another update. Well, if you can believe the story, because everything in Washington is true, but this happened 8 more times. In other words, Lord would come in with a draft. Kissinger would call him later and say, is this the best you got? Is this the best you can do? And Lord would say, well, gee, I don't know. So finally he comes in the 9th time, and of course Kissinger calls him and says, Winston, is this the best you can do? And Lord just loses it on the phone with him. He said, Mr. Secretary, I've been working on a stupid thing for a week, and I am absolutely positive there's not one word that I would ever change. And then Kissinger, in his, real thick German accent, says, oh, okay then, well, okay, at this point, maybe I'll decide to read it. Maybe I'll decide to read it. That's the way our work should be. We should proof our work. We should sit on it and not just breathlessly get it out 5 minutes before the deadline, which unfortunately is a lot of the work in the corporate world. But we should always ask the question, is this the best work we can do? Not just for a homework assignment, for a week's worth of a project management class, but far more in terms of our own excellence in everything we bring. Because the papers, the submissions, the analysis, the recommendations are going to count for more and have more significance the rest of our career. This is Professor Bauer thanking you for week 2. Get after the work, and we'll talk to you soon. See you Thursday night. Bye-bye now.